Well, good morning, Peachtree Corners. It's your humble city manager here again, wanting to spend a couple minutes with you, talking about all things life and activities in Peachtree Corners. I hope you're enjoying the beautiful day that we have out today. It is a great day to get outside, not too hot yet. The surface of the sun conditions that we're used to in July and August are not here, and so if there ever was a time that you did have a little bit of extra free time to get out and enjoy the outdoors in a, of course, socially distant way. Now would be it. The fact that we've got a lot of activity outside, though, does lead me, before I forget, to make one plea, and that is we've got a lot. If you are driving around the city, or even, walking, riding your bike or whatever around the city, there's a lot of people outside using public right-of-way. And that means either the road or the sidewalk. And so, again, please be very considerate of those around you. Now, on consideration, you clearly are, I'm clearly talking about us on a sidewalk. Don't have your entire family walking side by side, taking up the whole thing. When you've got people who are either trying to overtake you or you're, approaching and they need to get by. But also what I have seen recently is more people in the road, and that maybe even goes more specifically inside of subdivisions and neighborhoods. And you've got, families at home, outside, doing things in the front yard or even sometimes in the street, and then people driving into neighborhoods at a very unsafe rate of speed. And so I would ask that, if you have any influence or contact with people who are driving around, just slow it down. As they say in the nautical world, make it a no-wake zone when you're in neighborhoods, just because there's a lot of, kids and families and people out there. And sometimes these, the pedestrians and others don't adhere to the rules of the road like they should. Clearly streets are made for cars and other people shouldn't be using them for other purposes, but we all know that they do. And we don't want to have an interaction where somebody gets hit by an automobile. So just remember, there's a lot more people out. And let's be considerate of that and enjoy things without having an injury that I'm unfortunately going to have to talk about, and I don't want to do that. So a couple other things too. One, it's on a Friday morning, and over the last 12 hours or so, starting with the federal government, it looks like there's starting to be talk about a lessening of some of the restrictions that we're currently under, our shelter-in-place restrictions. And it appears that those restrictions they'll be reduced at a decentralized level. So in other words, the federal government is not going to ultimately, even if they had the authority, to tell all the states when they're supposed to lift or relax their restrictions. And then even the state can do so all the way down to the county level. So you could see, even in Georgia, there may be some rural counties that have not had any coronavirus or COVID-19 outbreaks, that the governor might allow to relax restrictions a little bit sooner than some of the more urban counties that you might find in places like, Metro Atlanta or, like Gwinnett County here. So it does appear that it's not going to go, one day we have all these restrictions and then the next day they're all gone, that there's going to be a phased approach, decentralized at the state and local government level. And it does appear that there's going to be some metrics that are going to be brought into play when it comes to whether or not those restrictions can be relaxed. It appears that there's talk that there needs to be some period of time, maybe a 2-week period of time in which the positive COVID-19 tests are trending downward before a specific area can have restrictions be relaxed. And then there's another phase beyond that in which there isn't an increase and continued decrease of cases and so on and so forth. And then there's a third phase before you could ultimately get to where all the restrictions are lifted. So again, it does appear that it's going to be a phased reduction of restrictions, and it's going to be done at a decentralized level at the state and local level. So that's kind of how we're looking. Now, of course, as you know, here in Georgia, our shelter-in-place restrictions apply through the month of April. And so, we're not talking about this phase happening here in the next couple of days. In fact, next week is the week in which our the modeling done here in Georgia is potentially showing the highest COVID-19 positive cases and or deaths that we may have in Georgia, because testing is a little bit behind. But again, when it is time for this to happen, that's probably the way it'll work. A couple other specific things as it relates to the virus itself. I do know that the Gwinnett County Health Department has now been able to secure enough tests that next week they are going to begin taking appointments for people who are exhibiting symptoms that might be COVID-19, and that will not require a doctor's referral first. So it does appear that if you are having symptoms, that you're going to be able to get a test without having to jump through any other hoops, because test kits are being made more readily available than they were before. So that's good news. Hopefully people will know sooner rather than later on whether they have COVID-19. But again, remember, you can be asymptomatic or even pre-symptomatic, not knowing that you have COVID-19 at all and be spreading it. So just because you don't have symptoms doesn't mean you don't have it. So that's kind of from the local government's standpoint. That's pretty much the updates I have as it relates to COVID-19. I will end up reminding you of two things that I talked about on Wednesday that I, again, cannot implore you enough to get involved in, and that is, A, get on, if you are not already registered for the city's app called Corners Connect. Get on the Android Marketplace or iTunes Store and download it, because it not only has a lot of great information, all of our public service announcements and press releases and other critical information we push through that. You can set it up to where it's pushed to you and you don't have to always be going to the website to look. And it's got everything from all things Peachtree Corners specific weather, news, Peachtree Corners specific events. You can submit a work request through it. It's got Gwinnett County transit information, and things like hours of operation for the city parks, and other things, and then parking, our parking deck in the town center parking. It has exactly where there are openings for parking spaces or not. But the one that I want to remind you again is the new one that we just put on there, and it's a tab within our app called Shop and Dine Local. And it is one where we polled all of the commercial, retail, restaurant establishments in the city, businesses that provide services to the public, and ask them to provide us the type of information that you would want to know if you were considering frequenting their establishment. So for instance, on a restaurant, they'll give you, on the app, we'll have a restaurant X, and it'll have its current hours of operation, which for most are, a departure from normal. It has their website, and it'll tell and its address, and it'll say things like, do they do takeout, curbside only, or do they also do delivery? Is the full menu available, or is it only a partial menu? In some cases, are they even open at all? We have some that are just saying that they're going to be closed until further notice. Others are operating, but at reduced hours. And so before you go out, if you're wanting to know anything from whether a restaurant's doing that, or whether a hotel is open, or whether a store maybe at the Forum or somewhere else, a retail store is open at all, the app will tell you that. And it's a quick, it gives also phone number and again link to the website. So as we continue to support our local economy, which is going to be again critical, the more we support them, the fewer closings that we're going to have when this is all done, and the more that we can keep alive. But the city's app is a good location to do that, and it makes it easy for you to maybe make contributions to that local economy that we all need. The last thing is you may have seen out there our program we just unveiled called Color My Heroes, or Color Our Heroes, and it is a coloring page that's been sketched and ready to be colored, and we're going to unveil one every Wednesday for the next 4 weeks. And it's a way for you to maybe have your kids or you yourself take that page, color it, take a photo of you with it, post it on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, and send and then hashtag the city or Color Our Heroes PTC, and you will be eligible for a drawing every week for gift cards for local establishments. And in addition to that, tape it to your front window or your front door for a while. And for that particular profession or group of profession that we're honoring that week, in this case, it's currently the medical profession and public health profession. As those people drive down neighborhoods and office buildings, they'll be able to, know that there's some people who appreciate what they're doing. So I encourage you to do it. It's just a nice distraction from what we've got going on at home. It's an easy way to show thanks. It's definitely something I know that I appreciate, so that when my kids who want even more screen time and I tell them no, and then they proceed to try to throw some degree of a temper tantrum, I can say, I have something for you to do. So that being said, I'm going to call it. I want all of you to have a safe and enjoyable weekend. We should have good weather at least through Saturday, so enjoy it. Maybe catch up on some of the home improvement stuff you've wanted to do, or your spring cleaning or whatever, but enjoy the weekend. We got another week of this coming up at a minimum, but again, every day that we do this is a day we're closer to getting our lives back to the way they were before. So thanks again for listening, and may God bless all of you, and we'll talk soon.